There's a lot of questions when it comes to the Apex 30% consistency rule. What does it mean? If I'm trading, does that mean I've got to always be consistent? I can't have losers. I've always got to make money. Like, what's the deal with the Apex 30% consistency rule? Will all of my payouts get denied if I make too much money? What am I going to do? As you can see right here, I've got multiple Apex funded accounts. As you can also see, I have a lot of these accounts very high above the overall drawdown, or just in general, there are profit. This account right here, 184,000, that's a $34,000 profit plus a $2,700 payout that I took last week. So you can see I've got no problem making big profits with Apex, no problem at all. But how do I survive the 30% consistency rule, Patrick? What am I going to do about the 30% rule? Well, for example, let's just take a look here, right? If I go and I look at like my big account right here, and let's go, okay, April 1st, I made $2,500. Great. The next day, I lost 1,000. The next day, I made 3,900. That day, I made $46.39. Out of these 5 days, I'm going to trade 5 more days next week. And normally my profit is $2,000 to $3,000 per day. Let's just say I make $10,000 next week. So now we know out of the 10 days, I've made $20,000. So I'm going to times it again by 0.30. And that means that my largest profitable day cannot be more than $6,000, right? It just can't be more than $6,000, $5,000. So I just got to make sure that if I'm trading, I'm consistent. And when I say consistent, I mean I'm trading consistently with the right size. I'm trading pretty much as a strategy is consistent, right? I'm trading the same way every day. I'm not just going and putting on 100 contracts, making $10,000, and then for the next 9 days, I'm just trading with like one micro contract. The big thing to remember here is it's about consistency, not just like, oh, you can't make big profits. A lot of people were like, Patrick, wow, you made way too much money. You're never going to get paid out. It's not about making too much money. It's about being consistent. If you make $2,000 every day, at the end of that 10-day period, you're going to make what? $20,000. Well, great. 10 days, $2,000 a day, $20,000 a day times, 10 accounts, 5 accounts, 10 accounts, 20 accounts, whatever it is. It does add up very quickly. But again, it's about being consistent. People love to basically say, oh, they're not going to pay you out if you make too much money. But that's not the case. The case is you just can't go and gamble, right? You can't just go and put on 100 contracts and be like, oh, I made $10,000 the first day. It's about being consistent. And if you're going to trade, you got to trade consistently with your sizing and your kind of overall strategies. There's no news rule as well. There's no news rule when it comes to Apex, but you just can't go and gamble, right? You can't put on 100 contracts before NFP. You can't put on 100 contracts during FOMC, things like that. It's about just trading as a consistent trader, right? That's all Apex is asking for. They're not asking for much. They're just saying, hey, if you're going to trade, you're going to make money. That's fine. But just do it consistently to prove that you're not gambling, to prove that you're not just putting on big size because you can, right? That's the big kind of moral of the story here. It's not about a 30% consistency rule. It's about being consistent as a trader. And the 30% rule for me was very simple. Like my first payout that I had, I think I made like a little over 20 grand that first week of trading. The first 10 days, I made over 20 grand, which is great. And then if you look at my overall P&L, like per day was like, 2,000, 1,000, 3,000, very consistent. It wasn't like, oh my God, I made $10,000 in just one day. And then the rest of the time I made $100. That's when you're going to run into issues when it comes with the 30% consistency rule with Apex. So just trade consistently. Don't do stupid shit. Follow kind of the overall plan, the rules, and take your profits, lock it in, walk away, come back the next day. Get those numbers up, right? At the end of the day, we know that we got to get to those 10-day payout policy. If we want to get paid out, we got to get 10 days of trading. So we got to be consistent either way. So now these accounts have been paid out, but at the same time, it's like I want to I want to keep it growing. I want to keep it going. I want to get to that next level and get to that 3-month period where I can take my full payouts, because in 3 months, there is no cap on the amount of payouts, the amount of actual payout, like the amount that I can get paid out. So looking forward to that 3-month period. Get to that 3-month period and take a big payout. And then at that point, everyone's going to be like, Patrick, how did you do it? Because of the 30% consistency rule. I thought Apex doesn't allow you to trade large size. That is literally the most ignorant idea that people have about Apex. Like, oh, you can't trade, you can't make a lot of money because of the consistency rule. No, you can make all the money you want. You just got to be consistent. If you're going to make $10,000 a day, well, make sure you make $10,000 every day. Don't go and fucking make $10,000 and then the very next day you only make $100. You got to be consistent, my friends. 30%, it's not a big deal if you really look at it. If you look at the 10-day period, if you trade for 10 days, like, you shouldn't have to worry about it. Like, think about it like this. Like, if you look, I don't know, let's say you make $10,000 over a 10-day period. That means your biggest profit day just can't be more than $3,000. Like, that really isn't a crazy idea. You're like, oh, wait, if I made $10,000 over a 10-day period, that means on average I'd make around $1,000. I just can't make more than $3,000 in that 10-day period if I'm only, basically making $1,000 per day. So there it is, Apex. 30% rule. Don't look into it other than the fact of like, look, just be consistent. Trade your plan, trade consistently. You can also flip. You can basically trade micros or just trade 1 or 2 contracts for 2 days out of the 10-day period. So really with Apex, it's like you only have to really trade 8 days consistently. And then those 2 days, the 9 and 10 days, you can flip contracts. So also kind of put that into your math as well. You just got to make sure that out of that 10-day period, you don't have like some huge winner on a massive day, and then the rest of the time you make no profits. So stay consistent, get those payouts, keep racking them up, my friends. Right now, 80% off at Apex. They just paid out $25 million in March. If you guys want to learn more about the #1 prop firm in the space right now, making the biggest payouts out there, learn more, link down below. Use the code PW always for the best deals. And well, there it is. I'll talk to you guys later on.